Hey up my ducks, it's Simon here, welcome back to the Hermit's Cave. I'm so sorry that I'm unable to do a couple of catch-up cards today. I've got issues with my internet, it just keeps dropping out. So I got a new home hub sent to me on Thursday, which I installed. Everything seemed to be going okay, and then I noticed on Friday, because it was the first day I was completely at home, my internet just kept dropping. I was trying to watch YouTube videos and I was getting the spinning wheel of doom. And then last night there was nothing at all. So I rang my provider. They did some diagnostic testing and said that, yeah, the installation hadn't been successful. It was nothing that I could do and I had to wait for an engineer. The first time they can get an engineer out to me is on Tuesday. So unfortunately, that means that I'm unable to go live. I'm just glad that it's not Spotlight, or it wasn't last week when I'm interviewing somebody. That would have been awful. It was just little old me. So what I intend to do is do a video and set it as a premiere for the same time as 7 o'clock, if I can get it uploaded, because I've got to use my mobile phone data. Set it as a premiere, and that way I can be in the chat and it's as good as being live, almost as good as being live, but I'll be there in person chatting along. So today's video is about my my growing interest, and dare I even say obsession around pip decks. I just need to say as well, please forgive the fact I haven't had a shave. I've been off work. I've been debating whether to grow a beard or not. I've decided not, but I'm going to the barber's tomorrow, so I thought, well, I'll get my money's worth and have a shave tomorrow. So that's why I look like this. And I did a deck tag a couple of weeks ago called The Deck That, and quite a few people responded. I've noticed there's one from like 12 hours ago that I still need to watch. And I do watch everyone and I do comment on everyone. And there were a couple of videos where some pip decks were being talked about. And two in particular really piqued my interest. One was easy to get, one was not so easy to get. The first one was by Kat from Wild Earth Ways. Love her channel. And again, great thing about doing a tag is you follow the tag and it takes you to other content creators that might not have stumbled across, or the algorithm might not have suggested before. So love it because it's bringing new channels forward for me to see. But she talked about the Field Tarot. I've not opened it yet, and I've seen this one over the years. I know it was an indie deck first, and I didn't back it. And then it came out and I was like, this kind of abstract art isn't really for me. But when she showed it and I saw some of the pips, I was like, actually, that's a really beautiful tarot. And so I know that I always say Watkins, Waterspoons, not Waterspoons. That's a cross between the bookshop and the pub. Waterstones. I should really edit this out, but I can't be bothered. It's a Saturday. It's cup of catch-up and cards. Let's just go with it. I went into Waterstones and because they always have it in there, and I picked it up to work with over the coming months, and I'm really looking forward to that. Also, I then saw the Tarot Geek and their VR to the tag. Now, they showed a deck called the Eden Tarot. I mean, look at this. This is how old it is. It is out of print. And it's not going to be to everybody's taste. And if I'd seen perhaps just some of the cards, I'd have been like, ugh. But I loved the basic. Now, at one time I would have called them lazy pips. I've completely done a 360 there, and I don't agree with that anymore. That sort of, oh, they're just, because they're not in a pretty pattern like the Marseille, doesn't make them lazy. The colours used in the backgrounds, I just loved it. And I went on a search for it. It was a lot of money. And then I found it through eBay, where there was an air ambulance company selling some decks, and it was a little bit out of my price range. So I made an offer. You know, you can click make an offer, which I did, and they accepted it, and it was sent. Little bit of an issue with getting it, because it arrived when I was away, even though I emailed and said, please don't send it until this date when I'm back. But hey ho, I've got it now, all is good. So I'm going to flip the camera around. We're going to have a look at a few decks, and then, as I said, at the end I will show you how, in 3 easy steps, how I read pip decks. Okay, so first things first, let's light some candles. Not that you can see them, but I always have to light a few candles when I'm playing with my cards. So as I said in that little introduction, I want to share with you all the fact that I recently really have fallen in love with reading pip tarot cards. Now, when I say pip, I also mean Marseille or the Italian decks, but not exclusively to them, because as we know, a pip deck doesn't necessarily mean it's a Marseille deck. Marseille is a particular style from a particular region of Europe, and the configuration, layout, pattern of certain pips, like the swords, batons, etc., are in a particular way. A pip deck is basically like your playing cards, where you get 6 diamonds or 6 clubs, etc. No scenic imagery to go on. So I guess if you told me a few years ago that I'd be excited about reading with pips, then I probably would have laughed because certainly going back to the 80s, I had no idea how to read them. My first deck, as many of you will know, is the 1JJ Swiss. I still love this deck so much. I love the art and the illustrations. But as a beginner, I would take out, look how beautiful they are. I would take out the pips. This hasn't been shuffled very well. I've obviously done a demo with these. So I would take out the pips. Here we go. All right, and I would just work with the major arcana, beautiful as they are. This is obviously the 1JJ, so we have Juno and Jupiter rather than the High Priestess and the Pope, or the Pope and the Papess. And I would just read with these because they were scenic and I could see a story, and I could, and I used to just read intuitively as well. You did get a little guidebook, so I would refer to it at the beginning. But for me, as beautiful as these are, they were just pretty patterns. That's all I could say. I had no clue how to work with them. And that was my workaround, was to put these to one side, even the quartz, and just, I was like, well, I don't know how to read that. And that's how I went for quite a lot of time. So a few years later, and we're probably talking, 2006, because after I worked with the one JJ Swiss, I then went back into the church. By church, we're talking Mormon church. Even playing cards are a no-no, although they bit of a grey area around Uno. But yeah, you certainly couldn't use tarot, so I put that aside. When I came out of the church in 2001, that's when I discovered Deborah Croft Chapin's soul cards. Loved the freedom of them. Now there's a word to remember for a little bit later on, freedom. Whereby there's no numbers, there's no keywords, there's no guidebook. You look at the images and you get an intuitive hit, and they worked great for me. And I used to do psychic parties. People would book me and I'd go and do readings for people using soul cards. A lot of you will know my backstory around that. But then in 2006, I picked up an RWS deck. And that was an absolute game changer, because now we'd got scenic minors, not just 2 pentacles or 2 coins. We could actually see a scene here, and I could read it because I'm a very visual person, and I know, you know, there's a real hint as to what the 8 of Pentacles is referring to, etc., by having these scenes to look at. It really helped me. And I just remember thinking, wow, I can now read with a full deck. I don't have to put any of the cards to one side. Because every pip card had a scene, it gave me something to work with, and it felt like a whole new world of tarot had opened up to me. Don't get me wrong, that I didn't just pick up an RWS, open up and think, right, that's it, you know. There was still that underpinning knowledge that I needed. And I've shared before, at the same time I bought my first RWS, I also bought Sarah Bartlett's Tarot Bible. And all I learned was the keywords. Again, something else that I find useful now, reading with pips. And again, I'll share that at the end with the 3 easy steps that I'm gonna share with you. So here's the twist. The twist is, as much as, and yeah, don't get me wrong, as much as I'm really loving pips, I absolutely still love my RWS decks, and they'll always be my preferred style of tarot deck. For me, they're very familiar, they're comfortable, they're rich in symbolism. But lately, pips have been offering me a new kind of reading experience. And do you know what? I am loving it. Let's pop that back on the shelf. So there's a kind of freedom, a certain freedom with pips. I'm going to share this deck with you as well. I have showed it before. I've had it for a few years. It's the Elemental Power Tarot by Melinda Lee Home. It's not an expensive deck. When I first got it, I thought, oh, the cardstock isn't up to much. But judging by today's standards of cardstock, where some are going, it's not bad at all. It's lovely matte. The illustrations are beautiful. But you will see that this is what I'm referring to as a pip card. So we can see the element of water. We can see it's a water suit. We have the chalices, the cups. We've got the Roman numeral here saying that that's the 4 of cups. First thing that comes to me is stability or order or structure. Thinking of, you know, think of the emperor for structure, order. You think of that huge stone monolith of a throne that he sits on. Four legs of a chair gives us structure, but we're talking about emotions as well because it's water. So again, I will link them together a bit later on. But yeah, just loving this deck. I love the majors. I think they're absolutely beautiful, beautiful, beautiful cards. But I'm also really enjoying the simplicity of pips. Two of Pentacles. You can see the earthy. Look at all the branches, the brown soil. Look at the full card. I mean, look. How many full cards have you seen with a hedgehog in it? Temperance is gorgeous as well. So, really enjoying the Elemental Power Tarot. I've been using that a lot. Just wanted to show before I go on to the two new decks that I mentioned as well, because I've heard that this one being referred to as lazy, but when we think about a pip deck, it's been around for quite a few years, let's say 50 plus years, that isn't Marseille or Italian in style. One that springs to mind is Tower of the Witches by Fergus Hall. Was the 007 deck, made famous by Live and Let Die film, James Bond. But again, you can see here, we just have these colour backgrounds. We do have a Roman numeral, quite hard to see though, but we can see, oh, and it's here as well. Quite hard to see. Why am I looking there and not the big one there? But we can see that this is the 9 of Cups. Again, beautifully illustrated for its time. 2 of Batons here. 5 of Swords. And they have these coloured backgrounds. 3 of Coins or Pentacles. So this is one that it's a nice little size, nice carry around deck. It's of its time. It really gives me kind of 6 of Cups nostalgia moments whenever I dig this out. Look at her. So another one, I just wanted to mention it because I've heard so many people say, oh, I like the Tower of the Witches, but lazy pips. And I used to say things like that. And like I said, I've changed my opinion. The more pippy at the moment, the more I seem to be enjoying it. So, why am I enjoying it? Well, there's a certain freedom when working without a full scenic illustration, because it encourages me to interpret cards more intuitively rather than kind of being locked in to one scene or story. Now, there are a myriad of RWS decks. You know, I think Cheryl said to me for the next spotlight, there's like another 20 decks potentially that we won't be, but we could be looking at. They will probably all be RWS, and people will depict them by the theme. So if you're getting, I don't know, let's think of the Everyday Witch, then you're going to get a witchy scene. If you've got an animal woodland deck, it's going to be animals in a woodland setting for the pips. So you're kind of locked in to the theme of that deck, if that makes sense. And yes, I do bring in that underpinning knowledge that I mentioned when I learnt RWS, but I'm also influenced as a visual person by the scene that creator is wanting me to experience and to read with. So for me, there's a certain freedom when I'm not locked in to one particular scene or story. What I've got is an instruction of, you have, let's say for example, 7 new growth, in a conviction with that new growth, batons. So batons is our wands, is our fire, etc. So I've got the number 7. 7 for me is around, as I said, new growth and having inner conviction. I've got batons, wands, which is the fire element. So when we think then of passion, energy, action. And then from that, the third step, which I'll share with you at the end, is what that means. What are the keywords from having 7 wands, which is the element of fire, okay, in a reading. All right, so let's have a look at the new decks that have come into my collection. So the first one is the Field Tarot by Hannah Elizabeth Fafana. I think that's how you say her name. And yeah, I never thought. And those people who know me well will be saying, what, you buying the Field? It's not one that I thought I'd get, but this is what I love about working with the tarot as well. Our practice changes over time in a lot of cases. And we're forever students, and we're forever learning. And maybe it's just the fact that I got to a certain point with RWS and thought, do you know what, I need to bring in something else. I think it could also be to do with the fact that the Toth came into my life back in May of this year. And then because I wanted to work with the Thoth for a couple of months, I'm confronted with pips. I've got to find a way to read with them. But anyway, this deck, as you can see, I've not opened it before. I saw Kat talk about, and I was like, oh, she's really selling this deck to me. So, and I love it because it's really simplistic. Now, I'm not a huge fan. Oh, the cardstock is nice. It's US Games. Love the backs. They're very subtle. It's US Games. So you know you're getting quality. It's a good deck. Cardstock is fab. And I love the pastel colours. I love the simplicity of a Fool here. We've just got beginnings rather than the Fool. Totally naked, about to step forward, vulnerable. And yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful Fool card. We have the Magician, the High Priestess. Look at her. Look at that Empress. Isn't it gorgeous? You probably say, I mean, look at the Empress and the Emperor. Gorgeous. We've got this Lioness for the Empress, and we've got a wolf, a beautiful white wolf for the Emperor. The Hierophant is very popish. Oh, the Lovers. I mean, look at that sky. I love the body art as well that appears through this deck. The Chariot, you get the white horse, the black horse, Justice, beautiful Hermit. Look at her hair, it's almost glowing. Fortune, Strength. So these kind of images, and this is what is on the front of the box, isn't it? It's kind of what puts me off. Now, had you put, I don't suppose you could because of nakedness, but had you put a card like this on the front, or this, or even this beautiful Hermit, that would have appealed to me. But having this on the front, that's not the kind of art that I like, that abstract. And it's perspective. It's the Hanged Man card about having a change of perspective. Here's the Death card. I do prefer a full skeleton than just seeing a skull for death, if I'm honest. But this is beautiful, really pretty. Temperance is stunning. Look at the Devil. Love that Devil card. Tower. Beautiful. And it's a blend. Again, if this had been on the front of the box, I might have thought it was an animal deck and dismissed it as such, but it's so not. Love the Universe card. again, quite abstract, but I love the duality. And I love the chakra colours here, these almost like moon phases into it, and we get a blood moon or a pink moon, etc. Okay, so then we go into the pips, and as you can see, they're not scenic, they are pips. So we do have a keyword which might throw me off. I mean, the ace for me is always the beginning, the spark, the potential of something. Yes, you need energy for the one suit, for that to turn into some sort of, or to manifest what it is that spark of interest is, bring it to fruition. Planning for 2. Okay, union for 3. Celebration 4. It's more probably going towards RWS, which is fine. But again, oh, we do have a person here in a couple of them. But I like it when they're just pippy like this. Burden for 10. See, I will share with you a little bit later on when we're just looking at pure pip, because this is more RWS, as you can see here, but a lot of the cards are pippish. I guess this will help people not used to pips because it's giving you a keyword. Love that. So dramatic. And I think to myself sometimes, why did I wait so long to get this deck? It's absolutely beautiful. Okay. The next deck I'm going to show you will really illustrate what I mean, and will lead me into the kind of resources slides that I put together, which will illustrate the three steps for reading pip decks. Okay, so hopefully this will fit in. I might need to bring the camera up slightly. So as I mentioned, I saw this on Tarot Geek's channel. It's Eden Tarot by Urania. It's not in English, although the cards do have multiple languages on them. They are quite large, the cards. You can see it comes in this like old VHS case. I don't think there's any English on the back. The book's certainly not in English. It's 2005, so it's 20 years old now. And yeah, I'm always a little bit sort of mindful of showing how to print decks, just because they're not always easy to get hold of. The artwork in this deck is wonderful. I'm not too put off. I mean, this has never been read. The spine is completely, this book is new, and the decks feel like new as well. Because I have Google Translate on my phone, I can just, you know, hover that over and it converts it straight to English anyway. So if I do need the book, then I've got an option with that. And then these are the cards. And there's hardly any walkthroughs of this, because I wanted to see all of the cards. I did have to watch a couple that were in, you know, different languages. And part of me thought, well, if I do this video today talking about pips and I include this deck, it's not going to get a video on its own. But that's okay, because I really want to illustrate. So cards are large, as I mentioned. So against a standard tarot, you can see that they're much taller and wider. we have a couple of title cards. So Tarot Eden, Tarot Del Eden, but it's the Eden Tarot. It's by Urania AGM Muller. And these are the backs of the cards. And the World of Tarot, just telling you about the publishers here. I might edge this in gold, you know, because it's got a gold border on the back and it has a gold metallic. Now this is like the gold that the Golden Tarot comes in, you know, that beautiful RWS deck. It's the same, so it's actually looks metallic even though it's not. But the artwork for this is stunning. So you'll see it's got 3 languages and it has the Fool. I would imagine that some people, if they did get this deck, would probably trim it down. I did think about doing that, and it probably would make around, perhaps not, but a little bit shorter but wider tarot card size anyway. But it's a deck of its time, and having these titles it adds to the charm for me. And I think, you know, I would lose the gold as well, and I think I'm going to edge this one in gold. But I'm thrilled to have it. I'm thrilled that the seller took my offer, and I got it for I was going to say an affordable price. It's still a lot for a deck, but for an out of print deck, I was prepared to pay that. Look at the colours here. So this is our Fool. We have the Magician, the Popess. Look at that owl, and the web. You see the web? It's really beautiful, and the colours are gorgeous. Our Empress. The Emperor showing some leg. I just think it is so beautiful, really beautiful. Cardstock isn't bad. I was thinking at first, oh, they're a bit thin, but actually there's a spring in them, and they're not a full gloss. It does have a lamination, but it's more of a silk. Really nice. Love the Pope. Look at this. See this beautiful emerald green? And this is what I love about the pips in this deck as well, is the background colours are stunning. So the Pope, the Lover, because it's more of a tradition where there's that choice. It's really, really sneaky. He's got one hand outstretched here to hold her hand, and then behind his back is grabbing the hand of this lady. Cupid up here, look. Chariot, stunning. Look at all the flowers here. Justice on the back of a turtle. Love this Hermit card. Ah. The Wheel of Fortune. And look at that little chimp. Strength is a tiger, but it's part of her. Look, she's got this cloak, and it's almost like they're one. That strength, you know, working together in unity. The Hanged Man, got a little squirrel, red squirrel crawling up him. But again, look at the light from the woodland behind, the beautiful trees. Now, the Death card is called the card with no name. And that's tradition because the Fool is without number. And the Death card is without name. Nobody used to want to say death. have Temperance. Look at that blue and the green together. Love the Devil. I should probably give a nudity announcement first. The House of God, La Maison Dieu. For the tower. Look at the projection of a face on that turret. Almost like the House of God. God is striking it. The star. Beautiful. The moon. The sun in the middle of this flower, look. Judgment. Love this angel here. She's got like huge butterfly wings with her trumpet blowing, or his trumpet actually. And then all these souls look traveling upwards. Such a dramatic image. I love it. The world. Beautiful animals around her. Okay, so then we go into the pips. So look how beautiful these are. I love the use of colour. So we have blue for our cups. We have a yellow for the wands. Now, some would say, well, perhaps I'd have had red for the wands and yellow for the swords and green for the earth, but I don't care. They're uniformed all the way through, as you'll see, but absolutely beautiful. But you can see that we get pips. So a Marseille, you know, for the swords would be curved and they'd be in a certain configuration. But these are just an accumulation. Whoops. There's a bit of a shadow cast there, but I don't want to get too much light on it. There we go. So you see them building up, and just look at this blue. Look at the blue aura colour around each of the, and they're not just a flat colour. You can see little bits of red and beautiful. So much depth. Again here with the purple, the red, really, really beautiful. And when I saw this, I was like, oh my gosh, they're the sort of pips I want to read with. I mean, they are patterned, but not following any particular tradition, really. Oh, I love it. Look at that. That cross hatching, it's just gorgeous. And the arrangement of these cups. They glow. These cards literally glow. And then we come onto, I'm going to put them to one side because I'm going to show you a demonstration about how to read with those pips. So I'll show you each of the court. So we have our page. Just look at that. We get a very watery scene here. The knight, the queen, and our king. Look at the page of wands. Isn't that gorgeous on that toadstool? Stunning. Pentacles. Got this dragon. Oh, look at her peacock feathers. And finally our swords. It's like a half insect, like a ladybird. I think you call them ladybugs, don't you, in the US? We call them ladybirds. And then we've got some gossamer wings. Beetle. Love it. Love, love, love it. All right, so now to the bit where I put my education hat on. I'm just going to shuffle these cards, and what I'm going to do is, as promised at the beginning, just 3 easy steps. And I don't want to preach to the converted, because there'll be people here, I'm sure, who have been reading Marseille or pip decks for years and know how to read them. Or, I just dropped a card on the floor. They are quite hard to shuffle overhand. Well, I'll say that because they're so big. Some people probably prefer to shuffle them that way. I just want to make sure I don't wheel over the cards that have dropped on the floor. Okay, so let me yeah, so I'm not here to preach to the converted. I'm just sharing my way that I've learnt over the years, and how in 3 easy steps, if you've never worked with pips before and you want to dive in, this is how you can do it. So firstly, the slide that's now on screen is the numerology of the pips. So this is your starting point. So as you can see down the left hand side, we have the numbers 1 to 10. They correlate with the suits of the minors. So as you know, within the minor suit, there are 56 cards. That is because there are 40 pip cards and 16 court cards, and then we have the 22 majors. We're just going to focus on the pips only of 1 through to 10, because I'm making the assumption that people that have said to me, like I need a scenic deck to be able to read tarot, that you're familiar with the major arcana and know how to interpret the major arcana, and also with the courts, because they don't change unless it's a particular themed deck that make those changes. But in essence, it's page, knight, queen, king, and then your fool through to the world card. So we're just going to focus on numerology of the pips. So 1 is your starting point. That's the beginning. And it's that planting of the seed. It's the potential for something to become. Then we move into 2, and that's balance. Just think of, we've got 2 arms. We might carry 2 things and we're balancing. Stack of plates in each arms. But 2 is also about the duality. The duality in all things, night and day, good and evil, all those kind of things. There's a duality, so obviously that's there as well, balance and duality. 3 is growth and expansion. So if you think of 3, if you draw 3 sticks, you could have like an arrowhead, and that's showing you a direction, a growth, and then as you're growing, you're expanding. 4 is stability. We talked about that earlier when I said think about the emperor, but stability, having that sort of order to things, having structure in place. But then comes 5 with its disruption, its disruptive energy, and that can bring chaos and change. After 5, you'll have the settling down. After that disruption, then everything settles and we go through a period of harmony. Also, I put in there victory because, you know, we shouldn't we? If we've been through a disruption, been through a change, we've survived it, we've come through, that's victory. And think of something like the 6 of Wands, if you're used to RWS and that imagery of the victor on top of the high horse. 7 is new growth, because I know we had growth for 3, but after disruption and harmony, then we have new growth coming out of that. And to have that, you need that inner conviction. 8 is power. We come into our power and we receive abundance. 9 is the attainment and also the evolution of the of that particular minor linked to that element. And then 10, of course, is the completion. That's unity. And even though it's completion, obviously it's completion of that cycle and we begin again. So that is the first step, which is the numerology of the pips 1 through till 10. Then we need to link it with the element of that suit, which is the second step. So here you will see on this slide, we have the 4 suits, our wands or batons if you're reading Marseille, etc. Cups, swords, pentacles, again, coins if you're using Marseille. And you have, for instance, we'll start at the top with our wands, that is fire, cups is water, swords is air, and pentacles, coins, is the earth suit. But what does that actually mean when we're reading the tarot? So wands is, as I said, fire, but that's our drive, our passion, our ambition. It's to do with creativity, energy, the willpower that we'll need, as well as action, growth, personal development, and enterprise. Cups is the water suit, and if we think of the corresponding with playing cards, we have hearts. That's how I always used to remember it, and that's our emotion, intuition, relationships, but it's also about compassion and connection. It's associated with love, spirituality, creativity, but also for me really honing in on that inner reflection that we need. Then we have swords, which is air, as I said, and that's to do with the brain, the head, the mind, and that's our intellect, our thoughts, our communication. It's about truth and clarity. Think about decision making that you need to do, thinking through any sort of challenges logistically or any sort of conflict resolution. And then we have pentacles or coins, the earth suit, which is everything to do with our earthly realm, the material world, if you like. But it also brings in practicality of things, stability, and that's related to 4, but also when we're talking about stability, we're thinking of things like stability of our home life, stability of our finances, our jobs and things like that. So it brings in work, it brings in resources, prosperity, it brings in career, it brings in our physical and physical being, our health, home life, material comfort. I always used to think of it as the baseline of Maslow's hierarchy of needs is one way that I used to think of it. Okay, so that's stages 1 and 2, but what does that mean in a reading? So we know that we've got each of the 1 to 10 pips. We've got the numerology there, and then we know that each suit represents an element and also what that means, what that correlates to. So I'm going to just do 3 piles and we'll give 3 examples. So our first one is the 3 of Swords. So I'll pop another slide up here. So this is an example of numerology and the minor suit combinations. So we know that the sword suit here, which is in yellow on this, is the air suit. We've turned over card 3 of Swords. So we go down to the number 3. We know that's to do with growth and expansion. So linking that with the element of air for Swords, it's around broadening knowledge or strategic planning. Now, these are just keywords and key phrases that I've put in, and these are just a jumping off point because that's how my brain works. I need to think, okay, I've got a 3. So that's growth or growth and expansion. It's the Swords, it's the air suit to do with the intellect. So for me, if we're talking about growth of that, then it's the broadening of knowledge, or perhaps because it's expansion, that strategic planning, okay, to have that expansion. Okay, to our second card then, we have, we've got a lot of swords today. We have the 4 of Swords. These were shuffled really well and I've split them. But we know, going back to the slide, 4 is stability, order and structure. Again, we go to the sword suit, the air suit. So what does that stability, order and structure look like now? Well, it's mental order. It's structured thinking. Remember, we're dealing with the intellect here. So that's my starting off point. Mental order, structured thinking. Because it's the air suit, it's the mind, it's the intellect, etc. Okay, let's see if this is a swords as well. I'll shuffle again. No, we have a beautiful 8 of Wands. Okay, back to the slide. So 8, if we go down, we know that that's power and abundance. The Wands suit is the fire suit here. So it's the first column in red. And we go down to 8 and we map across, and that's harnessing momentum to achieve big goals. Not just your small things, not just your everyday things like, I must go out and buy a plant for Aunt Ada for her 50th birthday. We're talking about big things because this is a power. This is 8. It's about abundance. So harnessing that momentum to achieve big goals. Okay, hopefully that helps. The 3 stages. So the first one is the numerology of the pips, just to go over that. The second one is then linking that to the element of the suit of fire, water, air or earth, also known as Wands, Cups, Swords and Pentacles, and then linking them both together to have a few keywords or phrases that starts you off on that that jumping off point. And then from there, you've got the freedom to go wherever you want to go. If you're reading for yourself, you'll make that very personal to you. If you're reading for somebody else, it's obviously what is the querent bringing to the table that they're asking you to consult the cards on. Okay, so I love pips. Hopefully you will love pips too. Okay guys, so again, apologies for not being able to do Cup of Catch Up and cards today. The reason why I wanted to do a premiere and not just leave it was because I won't be here next Saturday either, because I've got an event that I'm going to. And I was like, I don't want 2 Saturdays of not doing something live or semi-live. this was something a little bit different. It's something that I've been meaning to cover for some time. I hope you found it useful. And what I would say is this is my way of doing it. Other tarot readers will do it completely different ways. They might have different associations for numerology. They might not see wands as fire, for example. They might see the swords as fire. There's no right way or wrong way. I'm certainly not a gatekeeper when it comes to tarot. You do you. You read the cards however you want to read the cards. This is just hopefully a helpful guide for people who want to dip their toes into the world of pips but don't know where to start. If you want any of the resources and they're just mine, they're not copyrighted or anything like that, it's just something I whipped together for this. But if you want any of the resources, then drop me an email at the email address here, and I'll happily forward those 3 slides onto you. All right, thank you for hanging out with me on this premiere, and I will see you in the week with some more walkthrough videos. The next one is going to be one that Cheryl has sent, which is the Fairy Tale Tarot, which was released by Lo Scarabeo. So if you want to see a walkthrough of that, that will be recorded tomorrow. All right, until next time, go in peace. Namaste and blessed be.